guy. I'm a self-promoter. I'm a very good-looking guy. I'm an idol to some. I'm a brainless idiot. I'm your daddy. I'm a psychopath. I'm unstable. I'm a curmudgeon's curmudgeon. I'm an animal. I'm a tyrant. I'm a physical peon. I'm a man. I'm incompetent with women. I'm one of the great Casanovas of all time. I'm a hypocrite. I'm a coward. I'm a nut job.
Welcome to Termini Crashes Out, an NBA podcast with Justin Termini, brought to you by DCLA. And now it's time for Termini to Crash Out.
All right, Termini Crashes Out, episode 7, I believe, here of the program. Having fun so far. We're approaching 170 subscribers, so continue to subscribe. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We'll continue to do these shows almost every other day. Maybe I'll try and stay late, up late, do some post-game shows during the postseason. Get really excited for that. We're 16 days away from the postseason beginning. Let's do a couple of things here first that we are not going to touch on the show on Sirius XM NBA Radio coming up a little bit later today with myself and Eddie Johnson. So not sure if we're even going to have time to get to the straw poll that was put out by Tim Bontemps of ESPN, where he goes around and he surveys 100 different media members in order to get their thoughts on how the playoff picture, or I should say the MVP picture, is going to look. Now, a couple of reasons why I don't like this. First, let me give you the results, and then I'll give you the reasons why I'm not necessarily crazy about this straw poll that comes out. First, the results. SGA leads the way, and I knew this was going to be a blowout. I had been discussing with Eddie over the course of the last couple of days. Eddie thought that it was going to be a close race. I thought that it was going to be a blowout with SGA in the lead. That's not where my vote currently sits. But 88 of the 100 people surveyed voted for SGA. So he is running away with this thing. That's followed by Wemby, who's getting 8 votes. And I'll tell you momentarily why he annoyed me last night. And he fell down my ballot here a little bit, perhaps, 2 weeks before I have to hand that ballot in. Jokic got 3 first-place votes. Luka got none, and now it doesn't even look like Luka is going to be eligible because in his 64th game last night, Luka Doncic went down with an injury that looks like it could end his season here over the last 5 games or so for the Los Angeles Lakers. So if he does not play another regular season game, Luka is not going to be eligible for an award based off the 65-game rule. And then Jaylen Brown finished in 5th, but unlike Luka, he got a first-place vote. So again, 88 first-place votes for SGA, 8 for Wembanyama, 3 for Jokic, none for Luka, 1 for Jaylen Brown. Couple of reasons why I'm not crazy about this. One is I'm not asked to vote. So I'm one of the 100 voters. I've voted for a decade going all the way back to 2017. So almost a decade. Yet not one time have I been asked to vote in this. Meaning Tim Bontemps, who runs the poll, does not ask the actual voters. So you're asking 100 media members, but if you want to make this as accurate as possible, you should ask the people that actually do have a vote. I'd be happy to participate. Now, listen, I'm not going to go out of my way to try and participate. I'm not going to contact them. It just creates more work, but it would be more accurate if you contact the actual voters. I am one of the actual voters. One of the other reasons that I'm not crazy about this poll that comes out is I think it leads to groupthink, okay? So everybody in the media sits down, they do this, they see the results about 2 weeks prior to having to hand in their actual ballot. They see that SGA has 88 first-place votes, Wembanyama has 8, 3 for Jokic, so on and so forth, and then they become afraid of being one of the 3 that is voting for Jokic, or one of the 8 that is voting for Wembanyama, and certainly the only one who voted for Jaylen Brown. They don't want to be singled out when all of a sudden the public understands who voted for who. A couple of years ago, Gary Washburn was the only person that didn't vote, I believe, for either Shaquille O'Neal or LeBron James and prevented them from winning the award unanimously. Gary voted for Carmelo Anthony at one point to give him the award, and it cost, LeBron the unanimous vote, and LeBron has since, I think it was LeBron, again, maybe it was Shaq, has come out and criticized Gary Washburn. Nobody wants to be the butt of the joke, so everybody's going, well, even if I'm leaning towards Jokic, even if I'm leaning towards Wembanyama or Luka or Jaylen Brown, I'm afraid to cast that vote because publicly then I'll look like a fool. So why don't I just do the safe thing and put and put the the SGA up there at the top. Well, I'm here to tell you that right now I don't have SGA number one. I've been battling back and forth between Wembenyama and Nikola Jokic, although Wembenyama did upset me last night by not playing against the Clippers. I think that should end up maybe costing him, at least factor into my decision making. But I'm going to do whatever I want. I have to do what is easy for me to do when I fall asleep, not what everybody else wants me to do. And I kind of learned a little bit of that lesson a couple of years ago in 2023. Not that I wouldn't have voted for Embiid anyway, but when Kendrick Perkins came out and he said, well, listen, it's a race thing, it puts you in an uncomfortable spot where you almost felt like, all right, if I vote for Jokic, people are going to accuse me of just voting for the guy that's white. So I'm not doing that a second time. I don't care if I'm the only person that doesn't have SGA number one. And again, I might have SGA number one. There's still about a week left in the season. But if I don't think that SGA should be number one on my list, and right now I'm leaning against it because I think that OKC wins because of defense first and foremost, and SGA might be like their fifth or their sixth best defender, even though he's a great player. I think that, San Antonio wins mostly because of Wembenyama, even though they won last night without him against the Clippers. I think certainly Denver wins mostly because of Jokic, whereas I think the number one thing in OKC is their defense. So I'm not going to be peer pressured into voting for an individual guy, but I do think that is the fallout here of this straw poll. Is people get a little bit hesitant to think, critically or go rogue, and they just say, you know what, I'm going to do what everybody else is doing. It'll save me a lot of stress. So that's where we sit on the straw poll. And again, I don't think I'm going to have an opportunity to break that down in full on the show today on Sirius XM NBA Radio, 4 to 7 Eastern Time with Eddie Johnson, if only because there is so much other stuff to talk about. And at the top of the list of things that we need to talk about is what transpired there last night in Oklahoma City. And again, so many different layers to this. The MVP debate, whether or not the Lakers are a contender or not after the embarrassing way that they fell. The role of Bronny James last night playing in an actual NBA game when he's probably not even an NBA player. And at 6'2", he can't even get the ball across half court, dribbling wise, under some pressure there from Cason Wallace, who stripped him twice and then forced him to have a bad pass, all within like a 3-minute span of each other. So that's a tentacle that we can touch on. But first and foremost, we have to start with the decision to keep Luka Doncic in the game with a sore hamstring, which ultimately led to his injury, which there's going to be an MRI on today and could potentially leave him out for weeks. Could eventually cost him postseason games. And if it costs him postseason games, the Lakers have no chance of getting out of the first round, no matter who they face, whether it's Minnesota, whether it's Houston, whoever they face in the first round, they will not beat them if they don't have Luka Doncic. Now, notice when I set this up, I didn't say we need to start with the injury to Luka Doncic. I said we need to start with the decision to keep Luka Doncic in the game in the second half, even though he was battling the hamstring injury there as early as the second quarter. And I said it at the time, so this is not double guessing or second guessing. I said, even if it's a close game, you can't have Luka Doncic out there on the floor if he's going at the hamstring, because this game, while important for the Lakers last night to stave off Denver and stay in that 3 spot, why important for them and important for Luka for the MVP, it doesn't supersede being healthy for the playoffs. And JJ Redick got caught up in the moment instead of thinking big picture. And it's Luka's job, maybe in the moment while he's on the floor, to think small picture, right? What do I have to do to win this game? What do I have to do to outplay Shea? All of that stuff. That's his job. I can understand Luka wanting to stay in. It is JJ Redick's job to take both the small picture and the big picture into account. He didn't do that yesterday. I think it might have been the worst coaching decision that I have seen by any coach all this season. And I think that Redick has done an amazing job up to this point. He's overachieved with this team. He's got guys to buy into their role, like LeBron James being the second or third option, like DeAndre Ayton making the hustle plays. He's got them to defend above their heads, even though they don't have the personnel. I think JJ Redick has been amazing all season long. I thought last night was malpractice. I thought it was horrible decision making from both Redick in conjunction with the medical team. So today, JJ Redick deserves to be absolutely eviscerated for that decision. As soon as he grabbed at the hamstring, immediately, he should have been taken out of the game. And now you can't use it as an excuse moving forward. And some years you can use it as an excuse. Hey, our guy got hurt. There's nothing we can do about it. It was a freak injury. The Lakers got warning signs last night. They didn't listen to the warning signs. And now they're going to be without Luka. And again, we're really close to the postseason. We've seen guys miss multiple months with hamstrings. De'Aaron Fox missed the start of the season and all summer because of a hamstring. Jalen Williams has missed much time this season because of the hamstring. Aaron Gordon, the hamstring. Scoot Henderson, the hamstring. So if this, and forget months like those guys missed, if Luka even misses 3 weeks, the Lakers are screwed because the postseason starts in 2 weeks. And you can't afford not to have them against Minnesota, even though they're dealing with their own issues, with Jaden McDaniels and now Anthony Edwards with the knee. Houston, who hasn't had Van Vliet or Steven Adams and just looks like a mess in crunch time and close games offensively. They'll still beat the Lakers if the Lakers don't have Luka Doncic. Luka's essentially, LeBron's been good. Austin Reeves has been good. Luka's been a one-man show here, especially for the month of March. So if the Lakers don't have him, we're looking at a third consecutive season where they're going to miss out on the postseason. And again, I pin the blame on JJ Redick and the Lakers management staff. That's on them. As far as what it means for Luka, unfortunately, he's not going to qualify now if he misses the rest of the regular season for postseason awards. And that really sucks, especially historically, because Luka's already made 5 first teams at the age of 26. This was easily going to be his 6th, which is on a pace that we haven't seen almost in NBA history. Very few, maybe 2 or 3 other guys. And Luka was on that trajectory. Even though he had yet to win the MVP, he wasn't going to win it this year. Wasn't even going to come close to it. I had him 4th on my ballot. The highest I could even hear an explanation is 3rd. So he wasn't going to win the award. And that, he sits 4th in the Straw Poll. So that kind of tells you how people are thinking. But now he misses out All NBA. He misses out any MVP votes. And really, he only, so you can blame the organization in a certain way for this decision last night. But Luka also has to look in the mirror. I mean, how funny is it? And it's not funny, but how ironic, I should say, is it that what is going to cost Luka potentially All NBA, MVP votes, awards, is the one game he missed last game against Washington because he picked up the technical, his 16th, and got suspended. Because he's missing out by 1 game. This wouldn't be an issue, at least for awards. It'd be an issue in regards to being ready for the postseason, but it wouldn't be an issue in regards to the awards if Luka didn't get suspended. So if Luka didn't get into that tiff with Zaire Williams a couple of days ago against Brooklyn, he'd be on an All-NBA team. And now the All-NBA teams are going to be utter disasters because no Anthony Edwards now. He's disqualified after missing last night. Likely no Cade Cunningham, who's going to be reevaluated in a week. So he's going to come up short. And now likely no Luka Doncic. And they all had a chance at first team. And 2 of them, to me, were top 5 MVP guys and first team locks. That was Luka and that was Cade. And now that's not the case. And now you're looking at a situation where, Jaylen Brown might finish as high as 4th on my MVP ballot and on everybody's. And I didn't really have him in my top 5. But right now he is going to make first team All-NBA Jaylen Brown as a result of all these injuries and his solid play. And he's going to be a top 5, no doubt about it, MVP vote finisher as well. And, there's going to be some really weird names on first team. Like Jalen Brunson has never made first team All-NBA. Jalen Brunson's got a shot at that this year, even though to me, this has been the worst year he's had since coming over to the Knicks. I mean, how far away are we from a guy like C.J. McCollum or Peyton Pritchard making an All-NBA team? Maybe not too far. Now, for the other aside here, okay, and I didn't tweet until this morning about the Luka injury. I had tweeted about this in real time last night. in regards to Bronny James. And hello to everybody in the chat. I see you there, Charles, David Shepard, who does a great job on the post game. All right. And I think he's making a case for SGA as the MVP. Like I said, Shep, I think that he is an amazing player. I also think he benefits from being on the best team. And I think the reason they win is him, but even more so their defense. So anyway, I appreciate everybody there in the chat. But this Bronny James stuff is hysterical. On one hand, you can ask the question, is he an NBA player? Okay. And there's plenty of guys that, hey, are in the same boat. The Antetokounmpo brothers, they get minutes. But do they get minutes? People of Bronny James's ilk, the Antetokounmpo brothers, do they get minutes in a big game? And last night was a big game for the Lakers. They're trying to stave off the Nuggets. Last night was a big game for the Lakers. They're trying to stay hot, prove a point to Oklahoma City. They're going up against the best team in the NBA. I understand Marcus Smart was hurt. But maybe this speaks to your depth if you have Bronny James playing meaningful minutes in the second quarter, not in the fourth quarter, not at the end of the third quarter when it's garbage time. You have him playing. There's no such thing to me as garbage time, even though it was a 30-point game, 25-point game. There's no such thing as garbage time in the second quarter of an NBA basketball game. And he was out there playing, and he looked completely over his head. And then in the second half, once it did get to garbage time, he couldn't even get the ball over half court under pressure. And we're not talking about DeAndre Ayton not being able to get the ball over half court under pressure. It's not DeAndre Ayton's job. It is the job of a 6'2", undersized guard who shoots below 40%. So it's not even like you're asking, and Klay Thompson can get the ball over half court, but I'll just use this as an example. It's not like you're saying, hey, Klay Thompson, you hit threes, might be the second best three-point shooter of all time. You could live without him getting the ball over half court. He does something else. Bronny James, undersized, 6'2" guard, shoots below 40% from the field, so he's not a sniper, and he can't even dribble the ball across half court against pressure. 2 consecutive possessions, he gets a pass stolen and then pickpocketed by Cason Wallace right as he crosses half court. Then a few minutes later, he ends up dribbling the ball right off his foot under some pressure from Cason Wallace again. I'm sorry, if you can't get the ball across some pressure, if you can't get the ball across half court and you're an undersized guard, you don't belong in the league. You're not an NBA player. Now, it happens once every now and again to guys, maybe twice, although very rarely. I'm not sure I've ever seen it happen 3 times in such a short period of time like it happened to Bronny James there last night. And again, a couple of days ago, LeBron came out and he was adamant. He said, my son's an NBA player. He belongs. I've seen enough. Well, where was LeBron last night? Because his son clearly did not look like an NBA player. And I don't care that that's the best defense in the NBA. You got to be able to get the ball over half court. And the Lakers are supposed to be about titles. They're supposed to be about greatness. And they're out there playing a kid that can't even dribble the ball across half court just because who his father is. That's how far maybe the Lakers organization has fallen. But the bottom line is 15-2 of the month of March, that now essentially means nothing. Because you went up against Oklahoma City, a team that you are definitely going to have to face if you want to get out of the Western Conference playoffs, and you got smoked. You got embarrassed. They sent a message they're on a different level. At least in the MVP debate as well. When Denver lost to OKC, the games went into overtime, or they lost at the final buzzer, and Jokic played well. With San Antonio actually won the games, and Wemby played well. Last night, you had the double knock that Luka didn't play well, and LA got absolutely smoked. They got embarrassed. Gave up the most points this season to Oklahoma City in the first half. And really, that was the defense I expected the Lakers to have at the outset of the year. It's one of the reasons I said that they absolutely had no shot of contending. And that was proven there last night. And I think SGA's averaging 29.5 points in the 2 games. Luka's at 15.5. He's also got more rebounds and assists than him. Also shooting close to 50%, whereas Luka in these games is shooting 33%. So not a good showing for the Lakers or Luka last night. Unfortunately, that even gets overshadowed by something worse, and that's the potential long-term injury to Luka Doncic and his hamstring, all because JJ Redick wasn't thinking long-term, didn't manage the game appropriately. All right, your star wants to play. He wants to stay in. Tough luck. That's why Redick is paid a ton of money to make difficult decisions. We're going to save you from yourself. He did not do that. Now, also before we get to our story, and I'll wrap up, I've been doing these end of the show stories here, story time behind the scenes, which I stumbled upon because some people said, like, lift up the curtain a little bit. And I've given some great behind the scenes stories on Rick Barry, Mike Dunleavy, Eddie, Sam Mitchell. I'm going to give one on Joe Mazzulla at the end of the program. Okay. An interaction I had with him during the 2024 NBA Finals, where Boston ended up winning the championship. But one more thing I'd like to get off my chest first, and this is on Victor Wembanyama sitting out last night. I tweeted last night after we got off the air along the same lines of something that I had been saying the last few days. Like I said yesterday on the air when we learned of this news, I had tweeted last night at Termini Radio, at TERMINE Radio. I tweeted, I've had Wemby at the top of my MVP list for a few weeks now, but telling the media why you deserve the award, I said, isn't as important as showing them why you deserve it. And one day after telling the media why he should be the MVP, he's passing up the chance to show them. And then I concluded, so he can rest. And here's the funny part, is you can never appease anybody. So at the start of the day, at the start of the week, I've got Wembanyama as my MVP. Clearly, I'm one of the few, because Tim Bontemps did this straw poll that we referenced at the beginning of the show, and only 8 people out of 100 said that Wembanyama would be their first place vote. I was one. I believe, I'm not one of those because I didn't participate in the poll, but I was leaning towards Wembanyama as number one on my list. So one of about 9, 10 people that would do that. But despite that, I still got crushed last night for the San Antonio fan because I said Wembanyama should have played. Then I got crushed by everybody else, the Laker fan, the Denver fan, the OKC fan, because I dared to say that Wembanyama was my MVP up to that point. So nobody was happy with that tweet last night. That just shows you social media. Tweet whatever the hell you want and then ignore the mentions. Or if you're not going to ignore the mentions, you better have some pretty thick skin. Because I tweeted that out last night. I got, basically the only people that agreed with me were the ones that didn't have a dog in the race. So no SGA, no Wemby, no Jokic, no Luka, no Jaylen Brown, etc. Everybody else was crushing me. But I stand by what I said. Sitting out last night to me was a massive hit against Wembanyama, at least on this guy's ballot, who he had in his corner. But he alienated me a little bit. Again, because just the day before with Scott Van Pelt on ESPN, he said this of wanting the MVP. He said all the greats fought and grabbed everything they could grab early on in their career. If I want to make my spot amongst the greats, I got to try and not miss any occasion I have to put my name there. So that's what he said. Think about it. He said, I need to fight and grab everything, just like the other all-time greats. He said that, and then 24 hours later, he didn't fight or grab. Instead, he sat. That's the opposite of fighting or grabbing. It's sitting. Not even attempt to fight or grab. And it doesn't just need to be the opposition he fights and grabs. How about his own team? Hey, Wemby, we want to hold you out. Well, Wemby needs to say, no, I need to fight that. I want to play. I'm trying to get not just the MVP, but 60 plus wins, a championship, all of that. Because whether he knows it or not, he holds all the power within that organization. If Victor Wembanyama wants to play, the medical team, the coaching staff doesn't want him to play, they have no say. He has all that say. If he walks into the Spurs ownership and he says, listen, I don't like Greg Popovich, I don't like the way he looked at me, the way he talked to me, whatever the case may be, then guess what? Greg Popovich is out. All the greatness of Greg Popovich, hero down in San Antonio, 5 championships, coaching Mount Rushmore. Wembanyama wants him out. He's clearing out his desk the next day, and he's never welcomed back. Wembanyama has all to say. So he says he needs to fight and grab for everything, like the other all-time greats. Then he decides to sit out. Didn't like it. Also, and again, I'm a big Wembanyama fan, and I still might vote for him first. For all the Spurs fans out there, don't get so sensitive. And then, again, he also said, I got to try not to miss any occasion I have to put my name up there. Yet again, 24 hours later, he missed an occasion. He sat out. So in my opinion, he did the exact opposite of what he said he needed to do on the Scott Van Pelt show in regards to the MVP. If you want something, you got to go out and fight for it. You can't sit out. Last night he sat out. And again, me, this voter, might use that to send a message that I didn't like it and say, Wemby, up until this point, I had you first. But while SGA is going out there and playing every game and Jokic is going out there and playing every game, you sat at a critical time of the season. And that cost you maybe 1 on my ballot to 2, maybe 2 to 3. But it certainly will factor in. I mean, SGA hasn't sat out in over a month. Jokic is 9 years older than Victor Wembanyama. He hasn't missed a game since January, and he hasn't rested 1 game all season, has not load managed 1 game all season. The only 16 games he missed came while he was injured consecutively. Didn't miss a game prior to that, hasn't missed a game since. And those are guys who already have awards. And those are guys that aren't talking about the award. Wembanyama's talking about it. Wembanyama's younger. Wembanyama doesn't have one. And Wembanyama's the one that's resting. Do not agree with it. And again, I can understand that he wants to be well rested for the postseason. But don't you think SGA wants to be well rested for the postseason? Don't you think Jokic wants to be well rested for the postseason? If you want everything, you need to chase everything. And yesterday, he did not chase everything. All right, so again, it's JT, Justin Termini, here on his Termini Crashes Out YouTube page. And you can follow along, not just here on YouTube, where you like and you subscribe, but please, if you would, hopefully grow the audience. We're up somewhere around 170, just shy of that. We're going to do some trivia, perhaps, some giveaways. I'll figure out a way to do some calls, maybe some post-game shows. Once we get to the postseason and the games become even more important, I would like to do that if I can stay up late here on the East Coast. But again, you can also follow along on Twitter at TerminiNBA or at Termini Radio, at TERMINE Radio, and then on Instagram and TikTok at TerminiNBA, TerminiNBA. We'll get some clips of the show out there for you. So I'm going to tell the story now to wrap things up about an experience I had with Joe Mazzulla at the finals, okay? So this is 2024. What Eddie and I do during these interviews at the finals, a lot of these other events, is we'll sit in a back room, we'll wait for the PR of a team to bring back whoever we're going to interview. So maybe in this case, it's Joe Mazzulla, or, Brandon Pajimski from that finals as well, Steve Kerr. We're waiting for those guys in a back room. So they bring Joe Mazzulla to the back room. And I was warned by another media member, be careful, he can sometimes be a difficult interview. And I had only interviewed him once previously. It was right after he got the full-time Celtics job. They gave him a contract extension out at the All-Star break in 2023, I believe. So anyway, we're in the back. We're waiting for Joe Mazzulla. Mazzulla comes back. We have a tape recorder to do the interview. The tape recorder, for some reason, is not ready yet. Maybe the batteries are dead. They have to switch the batteries. So I'm trying to kill some time, make some small talk. So I say to Mazzulla, hey, coach, how you doing? He says to me, don't ask me how I'm doing. You don't give a shit. That's what Mazzulla says to me. So I was kind of caught off guard by that, but I said to Mazzulla, I said, you're right. I don't give a shit. I was just trying to kill some time, create some small talk. And then he said to me after that, he goes, all right, my guy, that's what I want to hear. That's what I want to hear. That's how you should handle it. And then I said to him in response to that, I said, I don't give a shit if that's what you want to hear. I really don't care about your opinion at all. And when I said that, he absolutely loved it. And, it would give me a high five. Then he ends up, telling a little bit of a story about the Bronx Tale. And he's known for his stories about movies. What's his favorite movie? The Departed, he's always talking about. Or The Town. I think it's The Town with Ben Affleck. So he starts telling me a story about the Bronx Tale and, the young kid in the Bronx Tale, the movie with Robert De Niro, how he doesn't care that his friends are upset with him for dating, a black girl. So he's telling me that story. Then we do the interview. Everything goes fine. We get to the end of the finals, maybe like a week and a half later, because this interview was after either game one or game two of the finals. So we get to the end of the week and Boston wins the championship. We're on the floor afterwards and trying to get interviews, right? And we're getting a couple of good interviews, but, the best interview, obviously, you want for the Celtics after they win the finals. You want to interview Tatum. You want to interview Jaylen Brown. You want to interview the head coach, Joe Mazzulla. We had gotten guys like Kristaps Porzingis, Peyton Pritchard, Al Horford, so still got some good interviews, but didn't get Mazzulla. So we're getting ready to go. The NBA, everybody in the media that's in charge of setting up the interview says, all right, that's it. It's over. You got what you got. Hopefully everybody's happy. So I see Mazzulla. He's, 15, 20 feet away. He sees me. He walks over to me. And again, we had only ever had this one interaction, a couple of interactions. So Mazzulla, best moment of his professional career, maybe his life in general, sees me, walks over, says, hey, my guy, what's up? How you doing? And I'm like, doing well. Congratulations. Happy for you. He says, you need anything from me? Is there anything I can do? And this is again after the best professional moment of his life, of his career. And he's walking over to me saying, can I do anything for you? I said, well, you know what? My company would love if you gave us an interview. It would make me look really good. He says, no problem. I got you. Then he spent about, maybe 4 to 5 minutes with us doing a little interview after he won the NBA championship. So that's one of the reasons that it's difficult for me. Now, listen, I will criticize him if I have to. He hasn't given us much reason. He's probably the coach of the year this season. But that was just a moment there that kind of opened up a window into the personality of Joe Mazzulla. And it's very difficult for me to dislike him ever since that. Showed you the personality there on day one. And then, a week and a half later or so shows you the kindness by coming up and asking if we needed anything. All right. So that wraps up story time. This time, again, a bunch of great stories from behind the scenes over my 20 plus years. Here on this platform, we've got a little bit more time to expound on those and open up the curtain. So touched on a couple of stuff with you here with Luka, the Lakers, Wemby. Plenty more to do on the 3-hour show coming up at 4 o'clock Eastern time with Eddie Johnson. Hopefully you'll tune in and don't forget, like and subscribe on the YouTube. Follow along on Twitter at Termini Radio, TikTok, and Instagram at Termini NBA. We want to thank our buddy Deepak over at DCLA, who provides my wardrobes when I go out to these games. Does a tremendous job with my tailored suits. You can visit him at bydcla.com. That's bydcla.com. Appreciate it, Deepak. Appreciate you guys. And again, we'll try and do these every other day or so. Talk to you soon, and hopefully talk to you on SiriusXM NBA Radio and the NBA app.